Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and we're here today with special guest, Pattie Dale Tye, who's here to share with us her new book, Ordinary to Extraordinary: Achieving Remarkable Career Success Through Passion, Purpose, and Preparation. So what if the key to an extraordinary career isn't just talent or luck, but how you prepare, connect, and reignite your purpose at every stage of life? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Pattie Dale Tye is a C-suite veteran with almost 4 decades of experience leading companies to new heights and course-correcting businesses in need. Pattie Dale has an extensive track record of success with some of the most recognized brands in the world. She spent over a decade with AT&T leading sales and operations for the company's largest accounts. In her time with Humana, Pattie Dale was instrumental in the company's multibillion-dollar large employer segment. Embracing innovations in telemedicine and Humana's digital wellness platform, Pattie Dale is credited with returning profitability to this portion of the organization's business. Working in tandem with the CDC, Pattie Dale spearheaded regulatory advancements in Medicare and Medicaid for Humana members. So welcome to the show, Pattie Dale Tye.
Marianne, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much. I can't wait to have a moment with Marianne and with all of your listeners.
Well, I am just over the moon that we are able to sit here today and have a talk about your book. So, what inspired you to write this?
Well, I am not blessed with children, so I will start with that. I have a wonderful 35-year marriage to my husband, Jim Tye. And this is a bit of legacy work for me, Marianne. It is things that I would tell my daughter or my son as they begin to work in career in that 90,000 hour journey. It's things I wish someone had told me. So it's a bit of legacy work and it is being so well received. I think I'm really hitting on a place that is needed in the work world.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of times when people dive into the workplace, they think, "Oh, I don't have a manual to kind of help me understand how to navigate this atmosphere." But your book does that so very well. I have to really commend you.
Well, thank you so much. Forbes was a wonderful publisher. They helped me. It took a year to write it because Marianne, you're an author. They dig back to memories you have long buried down, but they wanted me to go back all the way through my career, heck, even in my childhood, because you learn a lot about life at the dinner table and the breakfast table. And that became evident as I worked through the different chapters. I talk about my dad a lot. He was an incredible man. He left me with that legacy lesson of life, which is to always remember the needs of others. And that has served me well all through my career.
Well, I love how you've interwoven this, not just in your life, but in the work that you do. And it's interesting when we look at who are the mentors of our great leaders, and I would put you in that category. I think having that background that of your dad and those experiences is something that a lot of other people now are leaning on.
Absolutely. We are a connectional society. Don't try to do it alone. We need each other, right? We need to be needed. And so I love that not only do I continue to mentor, but I'm still mentored, Marianne, and you may be as well. We need to continue to learn. We need to continue to experiment with new things and new ways of doing what we've been doing forever. And that's where support from mentors can really make a difference. And I've also learned this wonderful concept of not just a mentor, but a sponsor. And I was blessed. My father could be my mentor, but I needed somebody inside the company walls to be my sponsor. And I was very blessed to have a few of those, and I wrote about them in the book. And they kind of wove their hands together and said, step here. And they were empowered to make a difference in my career in a way that a mentor may not necessarily be. So I would encourage folks to use not just a mentor, but also a sponsor.
So, for our listeners, can you share what your definition of extraordinary career would be and what that would look like?
Absolutely. So I use the two-word version of extraordinary, extraordinary, because I I know that I am not anything special. I am a wonderfully happy, faith-based, work centric person and life and joy centric person, but nobody very special. But I could take all that I just described to you, and I was able to have an extraordinary career because I stayed focused, I stayed high energy, I stayed ready to take the break when it came, which is something else my father told me. Somebody's always watching. The breaks are going to come. You have to be ready. It's just like being an athlete. Those Olympians we got to watch last summer, they didn't just show up there, right? They trained for years. Their muscle memory was ready for competition. In the work world, same thing. Your muscle memory has to be ready so that when that break comes, you can jump on it. And I was able to do that with help from sponsors, with wind at my back, over and over and over again, so that this girl who grew up in a small southern town, didn't have an MBA, still don't have an MBA, didn't go to any flashy schools, but had an incredibly extraordinary career. And to me, that means that career was lighting me up. It was using all the very, very it, specialized skills that God gave me and allowed me to work on purpose driven work. And that was extraordinary.
I love that. Do you believe that anyone can have an extraordinary career?
If they line up their passion, if they really learn what they're good at, their aptitudes, I talk a lot about aptitudes. So those are those basic sets of skills that we are born with that then we turn into strengths. If they line those up and find their passion ultimately and stay disciplined and understand that this is not a side hustle, this isn't a gig, this is a 90,000 hour journey, then Marianne, absolutely yes. I don't believe anybody can be anything because I think we are all made uniquely to do a few things in a very extraordinary way. So you have to find those where you fit.
Well, I think that's such valuable advice. And one of the things I really appreciate about your book is you highlight passion, purpose, and preparation as keys to success. So, how did these elements work together in practice?
I mentioned showing up. That's the preparedness. If you get the opportunity to have a seat at the table in a meeting, you do your homework, you prepare, you show up, you don't sit quietly. But when you speak with knowledge and with the intent to be accretive in the meeting. And I'm just giving one example of preparedness, but it's not just showing up. And I'll tell you, Marianne, and I use these examples in the book, there were times that I didn't show up prepared and I missed opportunities. That's why I spend time talking about how to be prepared. And then when it comes to passion, I think it's going to take you a while to learn what you are passionate about. But start with those aptitudes, those innate skills. Think about what lights you up, and then you can target where you want to go. And that's when you will have this passion about what you do. I'm passionate about health. I think it is one of the most important parts of our life. And that's why I lined up so beautifully with my work at Humana. But I didn't know that at age 25, right? When I was working for AT&T. Then I was passionate about business models because I grew up with a father who was always talking about business models. So your passions may change over your life, but with both those examples I just gave, the health passion and the business model passion, those also took advantage of my innate aptitudes and strengths. So the purpose is what to me comes finally. And that is when you're 20 years into your career and you look and you go, this is what I was meant to be doing for my career, for my life. And that's a beautiful lineup. You found that. You have absolutely, with your career, found your purpose. And then, as a minister once said, the work will be no work. It is just who you are and what you do. Will there be tough days? Yes, absolutely. Had one this week. But when you get to that tough day, if you sit back and you think, okay, was I lined up on my purpose? Was I lighting up using the things I'm passionate about and the skills that are really special and specific to me? Okay, one of those was out of whack. Let me see what I can do better tomorrow.
Now, earlier you mentioned your faith. How does your faith play a role in all of this?
It is the most important part of my life, right? I think of faith, family, and health as that is the great, those are the great areas of life that I want to take very special care with. But faith is the top. I was raised in a very faith-based family. We said the blessing at every meal, and it always ended with help us remember the needs of others. We did a Bible study, and it just set the tone for not only my day, but for my life. And so I have always prayed that I am doing what God had intended for me to do. And then if I get off that track, He can help me get back. So it is there every day, all day, Marianne, and it has helped me tremendously. And I'm not shy to say that.
Well, I'm just so impressed with your work and this also making sure that we are doing something positive for other people, giving back. I think that's such a big piece that a lot of times people in business seem to either miss, overlook because they're so focused on success and goals and money.
I totally agree. And one of the areas that is threaded through my career, and honestly, I didn't really realize how much impact it had made on my career until I wrote the book, but it's generosity and that giving back, as you said. And it is a superpower in the workplace. We tend to show up at work in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we are thinking about just ourselves. If we can flip that script and think about how we can be of service to others in a generous way in the workplace, and I'm not talking about writing a check, I'm talking about your leader has a big meeting at the end of the week. What can you do to help her succeed at that meeting? You have a colleague who's back from a 2-week vacation and they are in that traumatic reentry phase. What can you do to help them savor what they just left, but come into the new world of it's a work day? What can you take off their plate? What can you do to lighten their load? There are so many ways you can be generous in the workplace. And if you do flip that script from survival to giving back, your day is so much more fulfilling. I mean, you will be thriving, and there's always somebody who could use your help.
What an important piece. I think that that is paramount in business, being able to give back.
Yes,
And I love how you just have threaded that all in within your career. What just an important piece.
absolutely. And now it is imperative with the Gen Zers that we do purpose driven work and that they see how their work is going to serve a greater purpose. So I think a lot of businesses, certainly not for profits, have been doing this forever, but a lot of our bigger businesses are looking at, and small business, how can I make sure that the folks that show up here every day to do their best, and mostly everybody wants to show up and do their best, how do they see that their work has made a difference in the atmosphere, in the planet, in the lives of their community, in the lives of their neighborhood, in the lives of the world. That is really an incredibly important part of life right now. It was there, but boy, COVID really did shine a bright light on it. And now there is no turning back. And Marianne, I believe that's only going to benefit the world. I think it's a wonderful thing when we all say, this isn't just about me. This work is about something bigger.
It's really a massive shift we've been through, but I agree with you. I think it's shaping us into something better.
I totally agree. I believe it is Deloitte that is doing a study that will help us see insights from the time in our lives when almost everyone on the globe was pointed in the same direction, and that was during COVID, and that direction was to survive and to protect. And we've not, in my generation, had that one moment in time where it was the globe that was all around the same focus and same purpose and same passion. So, how did we change as a society as a result of that? I'm looking forward to seeing their studies.
So, you mentioned the younger generation. I'm probably aging myself right now, but what advice would you give to someone at the very beginning of their career who wants to build something meaningful?
I love that question. I was blessed yesterday to be invited to lunch to talk to three third-year law students who are just about to start getting their offers. And I gave them a couple of pieces of advice. The first is remember that this is a 90,000 hour journey. It's not always going to feel good, and you're not always going to be good at it. And in the beginning, give yourself grace. You have been in school for probably 18 years, and you have gotten really excellent at being a student. You have paid to learn. You are now going to be paid to learn for the rest of these 90,000 hours. And that's a whole different mindset you have to think about. You now hold the value. You have to show up as a value person, a valued talent in your organization because they are now paying for you to perform. That's very different than what you've been doing for 18 years. So give yourself grace to get into it. It might take 5 years to get comfortable. I love to go back and talk about Malcolm Gladwell's rule of 10,000 hours. You can't be an expert at something for at least 10,000 hours. That means you need 5 years of work to even get good at work. Give yourself grace. You are not going to have the most comfortable of days for probably the next 5 years. But after those 5 years, you're going to get in your lane. You are going to have been able to understand your what you are really good at. You are going to have an engagement level at work that is far deeper than it was on day one or year one. And then you can begin to run in this 90,000 hour journey without being quite so winded. The first 5 years, just be prepared.
Oh my goodness, such great advice. And for those that are re-entering the workforce, what advice would you give them?
Oh, they are my very special peeps, Marianne. I'm glad you brought them up because they're probably so nervous. They have been there and they have done well, but something brought them out of the workforce. And it is easier to go in the first time than it is to re-enter. So what I tell them to do is to remember all the great work they did while they were in the workforce and write it down. What did they accomplish? What did they bring to the table? How were they as a leader? How are they as a doer? Write down all that you can remember. Really purge those memories and then build back your confidence. You didn't leave anything behind. You took it all with you. Build back your confidence. The last thing you need to worry about right now is how difficult the technology is going to be because guess what? It's gotten easier since you left. It's so intuitive now. And oh, by the way, it changes every day. We used to worry that, oh my gosh, how will I ever learn all the new technology that's happened in the 5 years I've been out? That's the least of your worries right now. Go back and remember your strengths and what you accomplished. Get your confidence back and then read about whatever company you're going into and find out what they've been up to and how that will align with the great things that you're going to bring the next time you walk through those doors or turn on that laptop.
So, what steps can someone take if they've been in a job and they're feeling stuck, but they really want to build a career that more aligns with their values?
Yes. And there were times I was stuck and I would say, okay, first of all, check your environment. What's going on in the environment that is not as comfortable for you as it used to be? And is that a new leader that is just not as comfortable for you? Is that a new project that you're having to do that maybe doesn't use all your very strong talents? Is that a new team that is just not gelling? So the first thing to do is to check your environment. And is there anything you can now do to change that environment so that you'll get back in alignment with your purpose, passion, and preparation? But you used the term value, Marianne, and I have been in a place where I made the mistake of not lining up my values with the company that I went to work for. And it was uncomfortable and it was never going to be correctable because the values were too misaligned. So I had to leave. And it was disruptive. It never needed to happen. It was all on me because I didn't do my homework well enough before I came into that position. And the other thing, and I talk about this in my book, I was probably seduced by money and title. And we have to think about all the dimensions at play when we step into a new work role or a new company. It's not just about the money, it's not just about the title. Those can be incredibly superficial when you bump up against a values misalignment, against an environmental misalignment. Um, so do your homework before you jump in. And if you're stuck, if it's about values, I'm sorry, but you're probably going to need to look elsewhere. If it's environmental, you can maybe change it.
What an important piece. And it's so easy to get tempted by the titles and the money to overlook or maybe ignore or maybe not really even pay attention to if the values line up.
Absolutely. I'm three-quarters the way through Sunil Bloom's book, The Five Types of Wealth, and he articulates it so beautifully that the last of those five is financial wealth. There's so much more texture to wealth than just money. There's so much more texture to your work world, to your 90,000 hour journey than just a title. But those are the places where society judges us often, right, Marianne? And so we get seduced into thinking those are the most important things. But don't overlook all the elements of life because money is just, it can buy you some things, but on the value scale, it's an itch that you will never be free from if you let it lead your life.
I think that's so profound. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm,
And I want to dive into network. I think networking is such a big deal. And in today's environment, people are feeling a little bit more disconnected. So, what practical steps can professionals take to expand, nurture, or even develop a network?
Your network is the one of the most important assets you will ever build. You'll build a house. I think your family's the most important asset you will ever build. But you might build a house, you might build a garden, you might build something for your hobby. But one of the most important things you will ever build is your network, and you will need that network over and over and over again. So in today's environment, it is so easy to build that network. You can do it through LinkedIn, you can do it through Facebook, you can build it But what you must be disciplined about doing is to nurture it. Reach out to the people in your network on an authentic, routine basis. So, not just a like when they post something, not just a like when they get a career bump, but really take a moment to talk to them, either digitally or pick up the phone and call and tell them how proud you are for them and how much you know they are going to succeed in this new role, this new adventure. Really nurture your network because one day you're going to need to hire somebody and you can go to your network and that person might be right there, or they will be a perfect resource for you to call on and say, do you know anybody with these unique skills? One day you're going to be hired into a company. You're going to want to go to your network and say, what do you know about this company? What do you know about their leaders? How about this salary they're pitching to me? Is that in market? The network you build is going to be so important to you and it will give you such ROI. I use my network every single day and I nurture it every single day. And I'll say that's your big network, but Marianne, your smaller networks are incredibly important. I spoke to a newly minted CEO yesterday and I said, how are you doing? And it's drinking from a fire hose. And I said, do you have your kitchen cabinet? Do you have your board of directors? Do you have that small group that can be your touchstone that you can reach out to and say, I had the most difficult conversation today with one of my leaders, and tell me how I might have done that better because the outcome wasn't what I expected. Build your big network, nurture your big network, but don't forget about that small, intimate network that knows you from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head and that can tell you, here's how you might do this differently the next time, or you did it perfectly. I would never have thought to say these three things, and you did. And then you're going to sit up and guess what? You just gave back because that person you're talking to now, the next critical, crucial conversation they have a new set of tools to deploy. That's generosity 2.0.
Do you think people have a hard time connecting with other people in that way because maybe they just don't know what to say or how to say it?
I think that our new generation at work does, Marianne. I was asked, how do you make friends at work? And what I tell them, go to work. Don't be a virtual office person all the time. We are a connectional society. Go look in someone's eyes and ask them the question that you need to ask so that you can move forward in your project. Go take someone to lunch, right? They're just as nervous about having friends at work as you are. So step forward and be that friend you hope someone is to you. Be connected. Go to the after work events. Go to the United Way kickoff meeting. Go to your NRG meeting. Be around people. And the more you do it, the easier it will become. But connect. You need that to stay fully engaged in work. You do not want to fly solo, and there's no need to. So it'll be a little uncomfortable, but step out. It's just like learning to run, learning a new sport. It's uncomfortable in the first 30, 60, 90 days, but then you're in your rhythm. You're in the Malcolm Gladwell moving toward the 10,000 hours, and then it becomes no discomfort.
So, how can readers apply the book's principles if they're at a crossroad or maybe unsure about their next step?
What I would do, I'm a very different reader of a book. And so I wrote this book with a structure that I hope helped busy people that are sort of like me. I will often skip through the chapters and find those that are relevant for me at the moment. Will I ultimately get through the whole book? You bet. Might I readjust the order of the chapters? Absolutely. So in my book, at the end of every chapter, there is a very quick read called Pattie Dale's Pertinent Points. And it points you back to what were the messages in this chapter. So when you are at a career crossroads, go through that book, thumb through, and then start with the chapter that is most relevant at the time. If they're stuck right now because they dread Monday mornings, and I have been there, go to the chapter that's called Suddenly Sunday. and it helps you understand how to prepare your work for the next week by Friday afternoon so that you can have life balance all weekend and that Monday comes without the dreaded, oh my gosh, it's Monday again. I go into very specific details about how to show up happy on a Monday when I used to show up having cried on a Sunday. So that's just one example, Marianne, but there are 9 chapters loaded with practical advice just like that. Things I've learned over 40 years of career.
Well, your book is such an extraordinary read, Pattie Dale. I just loved it. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
I would love that. Thank you for that question. Best place to go is my website, and it's Pattie, Pattie, Dale, D as in David, Ale, Tye, T as in Tom, YE.com. PattieDaleTye.com. I have newsletters that I send out on a monthly basis. I would love for your listeners to connect with me through that. There's a link to purchase the book, and then there are ways that we can connect through speaking opportunities or consulting opportunities. And I am here to help the universe. It lights me up to think that there's somebody I'm helping today through your generosity, Marianne, that I will never know, but that might have a better life, or at least a better life at work, because you were generous to put your platform out there, and you were incredibly generous to allow me to be part of it.
Well, Pattie Dale, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you. And I loved my moment with Marianne, and I am a listener and a follower now. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Pattie Dale Tye. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Ordinary to Extraordinary: Achieving Remarkable Career Success Through Passion, Purpose, and Preparation. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.